This conference will now be recorded.
Everyone, it is 5:40. We have at least 3 voting members, so we are going to go ahead and start this meeting. So we'll call this meeting to order at 5:41 p.m. Roll call right now. I was not present. Richard Standifer
I'm here.
is present online. Pam Neighbors.
Can you not?
I'm here.
What's that?
I'm here.
Okay, Pam is present online. Jim Bunty
I'm here online.
is present online. Wendy Cambridge, I don't think is present. Hollis, all right?
I'm here.
Present
I'm
online.
online.
All right, and I'm on Pam's row. We do not have our historic preservation officer with us right now. So, agenda item 3 in our first section is to establish a quorum. And we have Hollis, Jim, and Pam Neighbors.
And Richard.
And Richard.
And Richard.
So we have a quorum. At this time, I would like to welcome guests and citizens. Do we have anybody scheduled to speak in this section right now?
I think somebody no signed up or anything.
Signed up to the council.
That is it.
No, no talk.
Okay.
All right, so we can move on past our introductions to approval for tonight's agenda. Would we like to move to approve tonight's agenda? Anybody? Or not? This is a read.
I make a motion that we approve tonight's agenda.
Do we have a second?
I second.
All right.
Richard Standifer.
Richard standing for second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Wendy Cambridge is joining.
Oh, good. So now we have Wendy Cambridge online as well. All right, the agenda's just been approved by the majority. We'll go ahead and move on to the approval of the November 16th special meeting minutes. I believe that we sent these out to us earlier this week or last week, so we've had a little time to look over it. Does anybody have any questions or discussion? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 16th special meeting?
I will make a motion to approve the November 16th special meeting minutes. Hollis Boatright.
All right, Hollis makes a motion to approve the minutes. Do we have a second?
Richard Standifer seconds.
All right. All in favor of approving the November 16th special meeting minutes? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion passes. We had an agenda item regarding conference coming up in February is the Friends of Texas Historical Commission, set for February 3rd through 5th. We wanted to know who would be interested in joining that. It is an online conference. Is anybody going to be available for online training next week?
I had a question. This is Wendy Cambridge. Has anyone attended this one in particular to give some insight?
I have not. I think Rudy has, and he can't be with us right now. So unfortunately, I don't have a lot of insight into it.
And I'm assuming there'll be other trainings throughout the year. Would that be fair to say?
Yes. Yes, there will be other training opportunities later.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, next main item of business is a tuition reimbursement for $173.25, and we do have the documentation for this. Our HPO signed us up for the NAPC virtual training, which is, I think, the one I just asked you about from February 3rd through 5th. So what we'll want to vote on now is to reimburse the historic preservation officer for the sign-up fee for that.
This is Hollis. I'll make the motion to reimburse the $173.25 from Rudy Nino's.
All right, that was Hollis.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. This is Jim Bunty.
All right, Jim seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Passes unanimously. We can move on to old business. We have a gateway signage update by Richard Stanifer, and I had intended to ask all of you about your favorites and try to have an up-down vote, but I didn't get to it this weekend. So Richard will tell you what is happening with our gateway signs.
Well, pardon me. Well, nothing's really changed. I'm sorry, Roxanne, I couldn't hear you. Did you receive the
I
designs that I sent you?
got the signs, I got the designs that you sent me, but I did not send them out to Elizabeth.
I see. Okay. So I sent an email to Andrew Manning, the sign designer, saying that we might like to, that there was some complaint because there were not definitive hills in the revisions he made. And his response was twofold. He said, and I don't know, since some of y'all don't have these, but there in the revisions in the lower left-hand panel, there were some wavy lines that was his interpretation of hills. And then the second response was, well, he had only allowed for one revision in his contract, and he wanted another $260 plus tax, which we don't pay, but another estimated $260 to make further revisions. And I responded, I kind of poor mouthed it and asked him if he would work with us because we have a really limited budget, and he said he would. So my thinking is, if we're going to ask him to make another revision, we need to be very specific, because and it may have been my fault I wasn't specific enough, but We just need to decide which of the designs we like the best. And if we want to alter that design, what that alteration would be.
Can I
So
take a
that's where
moment
things
on this
stand
and
right now.
talk?
Yes, please, Jim.
Thanks. So as you guys know, I'm actually a marketing creative director person, and I do tons of stuff like this. And I'm sorry that I wasn't here at the earlier part of the project, because I could have helped, definitely. I know what it's like to work with designers, and I know what it's like to deal with people who, get tired of doing revisions after a couple rounds of things. It's pretty common in this business, because to be blunt, they gave you pretty much what they had in mind right off the bat. That's just how it works with these people. So I like the designs, generally speaking, but none of them really drives me, crazy. None of them jumps out at me kind of that. I like them kind of all equally, which is a kind of a middling statement. And what I'm thinking is that, I deal with a lot of online design contractors. I mean, hundreds. And I use one of the sites that I use to find these people is called Fiverr, which is a very well-known website, FIVERR.com. And it's a global clearinghouse where graphic designers and logo designers and video editors and all kinds of creative writers and whatnot post their resumes, more or less, and then you say, I need this done, and it reaches the entire group of people, and they then send you bids. You tell them what your budget is, and they send you a number of ideas, and they'll tell you, many of these people say, I'll do unlimited revisions. And the best part is about this stuff is that it usually doesn't cost more than a couple $100. And you get Adobe Illustrator artwork, which can be blown up to the size of a billboard, and everything you need, to do things. I designed some logos for some local companies here recently, and for less than $200, I got a full design system, which included the logo and social media graphics and, stationary artwork and things like that. I would be willing, out of my own pocket, to take what Richard's developed so far and use that as a design guidance, and put a budget of a couple $100 out and say, here's what we've gotten with so far. Give us your next generation idea on this. So that way we're not abandoning what we've already done, but we're not browbeating the existing artist into trying to come up with something that he may or may not be able to do, simply because of the nature of that's how graphic designers work. So like I'm saying, I'd be willing to fund this on my own, and just to get this project finished. And our goal on this is we're going to do a printed sign, right? This is not like going to be carved out of wood with routers or anything, correct?
Correct.
Well, it is. It's printed or painted on the MDO plywood, which I have in my shop,
Right.
and I've begun to put together to the proper size.
Okay, perfect. Well, I can even have that stuff printed. I have vendors for that. So, the point is that I just wanted to throw that out here to the meeting tonight and get your guys' thoughts on it.
Well, Jim, I have a question for you, since you're so familiar with, and I've never had to work on signage before. So
yeah.
When you say printed, how is it the actual paint or print applied to the plywood?
Well, you can have it done. There's a number of different ways. There are many processes. You can do things like a vehicle wrap, which you can have done for very inexpensive cost and have it refreshed and updated, or even revised with new artwork. Every number of years, kind of thing, if that's your goal. But I'm not arguing for that. I'm just simply saying that that's one option right there. Vehicle wraps are extremely durable, that they're designed to survive being out in the elements, and a 4-season thing, and retain their good looks. So that's one option that I would probably lean towards. I've done hundreds of vehicle wraps for clients over the years, and if you use the right 3M material, it's absolutely awesome, and it's very inexpensive. We'd be looking at doing 3 to 4 signs for, I think, what was the size of this going to be? Like kind of an 8 by 10?
No, it's not even that big. It's roughly 6 feet, a little more than 6 feet by 4'8".
So, okay, so 4.5 by 6. Okay, yeah. So yeah, we
Yeah.
would be looking at very low cost to get a number of signs done this way. So
Well, here's our sad situation is we're trying to spend money we had in the budget from last year so we wouldn't lose it. So we've already paid this sign maker up front for 2 signs.
no, I know. And my
So
point
you
is,
weren't here.
let's
You weren't here
leverage
at the time, so.
Yeah, let's leverage what he's done. I'm not saying abandon his work because I think there are elements to each of the versions that he gave us that are good. But I think that, you know, I don't want to, it sounds disparaging, but everybody hits a wall at some point where, you know, they're like, I'm done with this project. I don't want to work anymore on it. Stop asking me to revise it, you know, and we may be nearing that point. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is we're going to have to work with this guy. So we're going to have to kind of bring him on board with, I don't have any objection. In fact, I would contribute and help you out of my pocket if that would help move the design forward.
Well, look, here's the good news.
Maybe we could split it or something.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the money part. I don't need to work with the designer that you worked with to get this project complete.
Well,
I can finish it with what we have and move it forward to get to ideas where we are happy with what we have, because we can route them amongst ourselves, talk about it, and then present them at an official event like this for a public vote. Once we've narrowed it down to more refined versions.
Well,
anyway, I'm not trying to create
controversy. Are there other thoughts? Does anybody else have thoughts on this?
I do. Does anybody else want to go? Wendy, were you saying something?
You know, this is Wendy. I like what Jim is saying. I think it's a good idea. And Richard, I'm just wondering, your hesitation, do we have a contract that we must use the designer that we've been working with?
We've paid him. We have paid him. So I think getting the money back may be problematic.
Well, I'm not asking for a refund on the guy's work. He's already done his work. I'm not suggesting that at all. He's done. He's been paid.
We paid him for
thank him.
It's not just the design work we've paid him for. We've paid him to paint this, to do the signage too.
Painting it?
Yes.
Yes.
Or whatever. I don't know how he applies it. Excuse me.
Okay. Well, maybe
I found a sign maker online. I do not have your knowledge and expertise. I wish I had, and I wish you had been here 6 or 8 months ago.
Well, I'm just trying to help us get across the finish line. I think this is one way that we could do it. As far as how he finally execute the thing, if we go back to him and say, hey, look, we had we did, what we can probably do is do an offline meeting with the guy and say, what was your intention in terms of actually producing the final product so that we can mount the signs and be done? And then
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. What was the total that we paid that guy to do the design and the signs?
It was, I think, $2,100 or so.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this is Hollis. Can we take Jim's new design and give it to him and let him paint the sign?
Sure. As long as he plays ball.
Yeah,
yes,
he may.
Right.
He may be.
I think he'll be willing to work with us. I do. I don't have any reason to think he won't.
Especially if he doesn't have to do any more revisions.
Right.
Okay, so the question then is, how do we handle selecting whatever we get from revisions? Do we?
Well, the way it works is I'll put the job out for bid.
Do we want
I'll put the job out for bid.
Survey type stuff? What do you want to do?
I table it and let them discuss it.
Would you like
Let's not table it. Let's just get it over with.
Table it.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Let's finish it.
I agree. Let's finish it. Let's do something.
Okay,
Exactly.
so
Why don't we let Jim get in touch with that design maker and work it out?
But when we select the design, but I'm asking how are we, you just want to debate it at one of our meetings, or do you want to have a public input survey or something like that? We need to decide so we can just,
Decide on the
have 2 or 3 options and that's it, and let's vote and let's do it. Hopefully.
All right. Well, what I would do is I would solicit design concepts from designers and make a selection and move forward with that designer. They'll present us with a number of concepts. I bring that back to all of you. You guys decide if you like any of them. If you do, we can vote and, finalize the design and then move forward to production. We're stuck in the design miasma right now. We got to get out of that.
All right. So for now, would you like to motion to table the decision on the design because we anticipate further revision?
Sure. And as long as we're okay with moving forward with an alternative, look at other designs, that's all I'm suggesting so that we can get something that everybody loves.
All right. Would anybody like to motion to table the vote on the design?
This is Wendy. I would suggest we table it with the alternative of gathering other designs through Jim's connections.
Do I have a second?
I second that.
Pam Neighbor seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Motion to table passes. Our next order of old business is election by and from the members of the commission for a new secretary. Right now, we've got Jim acting as our temporary secretary, doing our minutes for us. Does anybody want to nominate a more permanent secretary, or is anybody interested in the job?
I'm happy to continue helping until if somebody doesn't want to do something now, or I'm happy to turn it over to somebody.
Thank you. Any action right now?
Does the secretary have to be a member of the commission?
Yes. Is that right?
Yes.
The position of the commissioners.
Yes. It has to be a commissioner.
Got to be one of us.
Just confirming.
So do yourself a favor and let me continue to do it.
You're good.
Exactly.
I'm not going to argue.
It took me about an hour to go through and do it. It wasn't a big deal. I did it on a Saturday morning, But the key is do it soon after the meeting while you still remember,
Right.
And I'm sending him the recording of the meetings too.
Right, he used it. All right, so should we table further action on an election, or should we move to elect Jim Bundy as our secretary?
He's away from his desk.
Yeah. Funny how that works, huh?
Acting.
I'm happy to continue in the acting role for the time being.
The acting secretary. Yes.
Yeah. Rather than make it official. This is only my second meeting. I mean,
Okay.
I'm self-employed.
Do I hear a motion to table election of permanent secretary for now?
I make a motion, this is Hollis, to table the election for now and let Jim Bundy do it.
All right, so Hollis motion to table permanent election and have Jim Bundy continue as our acting secretary. Do I hear a second?
This is Richard. I second.
Thank you, Richard. Jennifer seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes.
Jim, we can't see your expressions. Like, are you frowning or smiling? Your face is
No,
dark.
I couldn't be happier. No, I know. I tried to get some light in here, but all I did was backlight myself. This is like the worst of Hollywood here. Hold on. Let me
He's
get
probably
a front light
making
going. Let me get something going.
All right. So our HPO is not able to be present because of personal business. So we're going to bump the ES report for now. We our streetscapes presentation. Which I thought was on here, but
I think it's just on the next page,
all right.
up at the top.
Here we are.
It's only gonna be on that screen. I can't put it on here. If you'd emailed it to me earlier, I could put it and share it, but I can't get there.
Yes, or is.
It's on
No,
that
it's
screen,
not.
so.
It's only
I
on
don't
the
think I'm gonna see it that way.
Wait, hang on just a second.
Need to move that podium. Oh, it's over here, watch. Matt, you might want to come over here and sit where you can see this.
Thank you, it'll be sitting there.
And they see it's bigger than what they're wearing.
Podium, it should go over a little bit more. It's the camera.
Well, and rather, there's probably a way that we can put the whole presentation online, not live, but
If you can email the presentation to you or me tomorrow, we can share it with council and everybody.
okay. All right, we would like to welcome Jack Shelley to go over our. We'd like to welcome Jack Shelley to go over the streetscape design presentation.
Can everybody see it? Oh, hang on, Jack. There's a button right here. Knox. Yeah, so they get these.
Go to your house.
Can y'all see it?
They can see a
You wait.
video of the room.
Not the best I can get you.
We can't run it through GoToMeeting?
You know, I could ship it to you right now if that would help. Well,
That would be the thing.
yeah, if you email it to me real quick, I'll see if I can open it up. Code compliance.
Okay, your email address is?
Code compliance at cityofblanco.com. And then we'll wait 20 minutes for our server to process it.
City of Blanco, all on the string?
Cityofblanco.com, yes, sir.
All on the string.
So they can't see it all.
They will tonight.
Okay. See if we get podiums in one.
Anything that we have up on the main screen, we've got to get to Will or Lori ahead of time.
He sent it to them. Yeah, he's worked with them.
No, I didn't ever see it.
When you did,
Huh?
I thought I sent it to you.
It's 21 megabytes. It may not go through. So here goes goodbye.
Can,
This, it's too big to go through to you.
Okay.
You want to try the thumb drive again and format, see if it continues on there?
I'm afraid I'll erase it if I.
Well, I forgot it on here, so I'm not working.
If you have Gmail, it'll send a 20 meg, 21 meg file through there, no problem.
Well, it says maybe too big, but let's just go ahead and try it again.
If he joins through the meeting link, can you share a screen from there?
Yeah. We're sending.
Is it available anywhere online or like on a Dropbox account, or I could send it to Will from here?
It's on my thumb drive on here.
Oh, okay.
Not even, it says my, I'm not even hooked up to Gmail, so I don't know what your Wi-Fi or anything.
Oh. Let me get I can get you on the Wi-Fi. Does that help?
Is there any way to take this MacBook and hook it up to your paraphernalia over here and have it show just like you would normally do?
No, because then it won't, it'll
So is it,
cut everybody out of the meeting.
is it top one or?
It'll cut the meeting off.
The top one's what you're looking for,
Okay,
and then the bottom's the passcode.
okay. Seven six six log G.
Share your screen.
Yes. 5G threw me out.
Okay. Okay. Four five 108 with a bunch of zeros. Okay, we're on.
I'm gonna take it back here. And then we'll say it goes through to me.
Okay, it looks like it's gone. Okay. No problems. Is it coming in?
No, yeah, but that doesn't mean much because our server is really slow.
Someday.
Yep. Yes, Jim, someday. Here comes the message.
Okay.
Says it's receiving one, but it hasn't received it yet.
They need to know that this is the one that made, when was this made, Joe?
I'm gonna say that.
May of 2014.
2014, this was at the beginning of streetscape,
No,
when we were
no.
getting the money raised and everything. This rush.
Okay, Jim, do you want me to say, flip the slide, or do, when I flip it on this one, you just want to
I'll
follow?
try to pay attention, but I gotta get this into presentation mode first.
Okay.
But so they understand that this isn't the front. That
I don't know what it's doing now. Okay, doesn't move yet.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Got a brief
Yes.
resolution.
All right.
Okay, I'm Jack Foley. I apologize for the delay, technical issues, always happen. I believe the agenda said something about future streetscape. I'd like you to note the date below Blanco, Texas. This is historical streetscape. And what this presentation was and is, it was first presented to the city council back in May of 2014. And then we had an individual historical architect preservationist from Fredericksburg by the name of John Klein, who helped us, and we gave him this presentation to introduce him to what we had done thus far. So it actually went to two audiences. It went to the city council here, and it went to John Klein. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the roadmap that I'm going to follow, that we did follow. There's a bunch of slides. I'll go rapidly through some of them. If you have any questions, please just stop me and we'll answer the best we can. Next slide, Jim. Okay, there was a city council resolution, October of 2009, and without reading it, you can see what it says. It will be distributed, as Jim said. And that is the resolution excerpts. And then we asked, and we were communicating throughout the project with TxDOT, specifically on one phase of it. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the background for the roadmap of where we were at the time. In October, the city council made their resolution. You can read from there on. We formed a committee. We raised some funds. And then the fall of 2011 to the time of May of 2014, we had many meetings, and we found a community resource who did all the conceptual drawings, and his name was Jim Rady. And as many of you know, Jim is deceased. Next slide, please. So our idea was to develop a cost-effective approach, and in 3 phases, those are the 3 phases. We went to the public, we got council approval, dates there you see, and met with TxDOT. Next one, please. Okay, initially, we got a $50,000 estimate of what it would cost from, I think we went to 3 urban design firms, Fred, I don't know if you recall. But finally, we used Jim Rady popped into the picture, who had an architectural firm right here across the street from the bowling alley. He did design and architectural work. He was a former Marine. He did that in the Marine Corps. He carried it through. He did a lot of work in Uvalde, and he was extremely valuable to this project. And you'll see in just a second. We sought multiple funding sources. You can see those at the bottom. Next slide, please. So objectives. The committee developed the following objectives: pedestrian friendly, environmentally pleasing, traffic calming, and economically doable or attractive. Next slide, please, Jim. This is a top-down view of the square. And essentially, if you go from right to left with those dotted squares, that was phase 1, phase 2, and the final phase, calming at 281, is phase 3, as we had divided them up. There's a top-down view. Look at this is 4th and Pecan. The 10 roof is what's now old 300. You can see the way the cars are parked. You can see the way the cars are parked. This is coming up to the stop sign, and you see the cars are parked perpendicular. And the reason why this is phase 1, because the mayor at the time was Chuck Holman, and there were multiple accidents at this corner. So he wanted this corner settled first. Here is some of the data that we gathered regarding accidents up to that time at that location. Next. Okay, here was the conceptual plan, and what you see, it looks like pink are actually sidewalks. What you see, those dark burgundy colored squares are basically traffic calming, but they're brick ways. You can see from the courthouse square over till 300 across the street, post office, and then over here toward Bensill Park. You can see then 281, which had been phase 3 on the far left, the pink, that was putting islands in 281 and trying to calm the traffic there. Here's another rendering of 4th and Pecan. You can also see that we had established they were going to be large quarry rock, rectangular blocks, and they were going to be at each corner. They were there for 2 reasons. One, to rest and sit, and number 1, a protector if some car got off the road and ran through that corner. Another rendering of the same thing. You can see what I just mentioned regarding the seats, if you will, the rock seats, and the crosswalks. You can see this is approaching from courthouse square. That red building is actually the old 300. You can see the street lamp lights. They were going to be funded separately. I don't know if those funds are still available, but Armando
Bank of Vehicle.
Payment is partnered with.
Bank of Vehicle.
Okay, phase 1 and 2, these are the issues that we attempted to address throughout. So this was the conceptual plan, and it addressed what we think were the initial objectives. And then the following step to see, coordinate the tech stop and go to preliminary design. That's basically where things stopped. And the reason why they stopped is because the city council would not take ownership, meaning they wouldn't think of funding this particular project. So I'm going to show you some of the backup slides. This is, again, presented to the city council. We need your leadership. We obviously need your funding. And you can see what we said to them. Here's an example of a major highway. That's US Highway 81 in Artesia, New Mexico. That's what they did to calm that highway that goes right through the middle of town down Tisha. That's just an example of what could have been done. We gave, I think we gave a flyer to the public trying to answer some of these questions. Of course, we didn't have definitive data on lots of it. It was a proposed timeline. And we developed a trifold, which Loretta's got a copy of,
Yeah, I made some copies for it.
and printed those, and that's essentially what we handed out to the public and other interested people, and it just summarizes the entire project. And you say again, the project will go nowhere without city council buy-in and financial support. I'm open to any questions that anybody has.
My only question, Jack, is the stuff that's in the Texas Department of Transportation right of way, was that ever approached with them, or we just didn't get that far?
Yeah, Richard, no, we did talk to them, and basically it was 281 and 165 here. And there was initially, most of the discussion had to do with the boundary of the red bud and how far off center line of the 165 it was and whether we could do anything. Well, that all went away when the Texas decided to put the sidewalk in. So that was essentially not all of what we were discussing, because we were discussing putting planters in there for to keep that out. But that was the main discussion. We never got to discuss the calling of 281, just there. A lot of letters went back and forth between, I guess, the mayor at the time, TxDOT, on the 165 of the road, who had the right of way from the center line of that street. Does that answer the question, Richard?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Others?
From where you've left off,
It's been,
what is the next step? The next concrete step that we take
well,
from here?
if you're going to resume this project, it's to get, in my view, the city to fund a construction design. And then next step after that would be finding contractors who are willing to do it. Make sure we're good to go with TxDOT right over there. I think we are. But that's the way I see it, brother. You see it
Well,
differently?
the next step is get our committee, and I think, I don't know if you knew that we amended the number on the committee down from 12 to 5. And so it's been approved by the city council, resurrected
Yeah.
committee members.
Sure.
Is that Roxanne?
Well, you come right here and sit so you can hear the speakers. You sit straight there. They can't hear you very well without it.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, so you can.
Okay, so now is the time for the committee to get together and get the rest of the committee members. The committee chair was always the chair of the historic committee. And Roxanne has talked about it, if she has time to take that on. And to get the other committee members, and Ronnie would be on it, and probably you too. And so to have the meetings and start planning on what to do, how to move forward with it. And one of the things that you're trying to do is to get your plan. We never got our final plan. And so 1/4 of the square has been taken care of on the north side, not completely, but part of it. And so we've got to get our architect, we've got to get our plan going again, our planning going again on the steps to take.
And then you get a design and then get council to approve the design. You need to get a final design, architectural design, for what changes need to be made, and then have council approve that
But that's the issue,
But
it costs money to get.
Right, so we have to,
You gotta request the funding from council first.
Well,
So find an architect, find out what, get an estimated or not to exceed, get, council to approve that funding. And then it begins the design phase, you get a design of this final design, and then you take it to council to approve the design.
the committee can work together to find the architect,
Sure.
and then you won't know the amount until you get the architect.
Get the architect, that's right, you gotta get the
And so
architect.
that's the committee's job in working with this.
You get the architect to establish the,
Get everything to take to the city and say, here's what we need. And then we're looking for grants and everything. We want to start looking for grants. In fact, Roxanne has been looking, and also on Keep Blanco Beautiful, Rachel Lumpy is our person to look for grants for it. And that our end of the deal. So we're not going to know what kind of grants to go for until we get our architect, or we get our plan. And it's just starting over, Jeff, where we were at one time.
Well, I
We
think
got John, and
it's
John,
not starting over, I think, you know, it
It's
comes
not
back to the
starting over.
council. Then it comes back to money.
it's picking back up where we left off, is what it is. And
how
that-
many,
That would be up to the committee.
how many people from the historic commission?
Just one person for the historic.
You only need one person from the
Just one
historic.
person, and that would be the chair.
Okay.
Okay,
So-
and then,
How many other individuals do you need?
did you? And then I'm part of the, there's 5 altogether. Let me get that.
So
Roxanne,
we're not actually advocating moving forward with this document, are we?
I think right now we're looking at forming a committee to begin the process.
This entire project requires an urban planning consultancy or company. I have a number of them in LA. These are not $150,000 projects. These are $1 million projects. You know,
No, we have a $40,000 one out of Colorado lined up at one time, and we could raise it $40,000 to get it. But what it is that
no.
committee comes on and puts all this together. And that's why I said, you know, they let us, Jack and me, as advisors, that's what Bruce Webster says, and we would help. I guess you would be willing to help. Where we went,
I'm burned out.
Yeah.
The city, I think the city won't back it, they didn't back it, and you're just spinning your wheels. So until we get some kind of commitment from the city, as Jim just said, this thing is not gonna be finished.
Do we know whether or not any other projects that are in the same vein are in the works with the city currently?
you have to have something to take to the city, and unless your committee has put something together to take to the city, you don't have anything yet.
Well, for example, you know, I think that you mentioned to me that Councilwoman Zeta Devine had requested a 4-way stop sign. And like, elements of the project, do we know what else is going on
the
right
four-way
now?
stop sign was already approved by Tech Shop.
Okay.
Did they approve that?
Yes, they did.
Thank goodness, because we asked them how many
They
years.
would only, also ask for a speed reduction, but they can only reduce it down to 30.
Yeah.
So, which is what I expected, but it's better than 35 at least.
But you know, I'm always hearing somebody saying, well, they're thinking about putting sidewalk here and putting a sidewalk there. You need to plan. We've got to get our architect and our plan. And that's what the committee needs to be working on, just like what we did. Put it together and then get it to the city.
Roxanne, this is Wendy. Do we have available funds for doing anything in this project at this time?
I'll refer to Retta, or
We have some, a little bit, but
I think it was the $300 though.
We're just kind of starting from scratch to go back through and get all of our figures together. We don't even know what figures we're talking about. And
Okay. So we have no budget at this time.
we don't have our grants or anything. We're gonna have to go for grants. The city will have to go for grants, and we'll also be looking for grants.
So this is a restart.
It's completely resolved.
There's a president, Blanco Historic Preservation Commission member, a Blanco business owner, a Key Blanco Beautiful member, a member of the Old Blanco County Courthouse Preservation Committee, and a member at large. And then, it would be Ronnie and Will on the committee.
Well,
So what we did, and when we started, is just call the committee together and get it moving and see where it goes.
okay. So I don't think there's any action we can take tonight,
There's no action.
but we can start recruiting.
Yeah. Well, get these people together and call a meeting and I mean, I'll be glad to help all I can and we'll do a whole, as advisors on it. And kind of walk through where we went and trying to get John Klein. We did have an architect. We did have our architect. We had John Klein.
I'd say it's probably not accurate to say you started all over.
Right.
Because at least you have a conceptual plan. If the new council buys into that plan, then it's pony up time to hire a designer. And then, and as Jim mentioned, what we had was an urban designer. I think we had two of them. One of them was out of Colorado Springs or Denver. And I don't recall who the other ones, but they were not insignificant dollar amounts.
So this is definitely going to be something that we need to ask. Because we can't raise. We can't raise $40,000. It's on my head.
Your bandwidth is breaking up. It's getting hard to hear you.
When we called, we tried fundraisers and we didn't come up with $45,000.
No.
Jim Rady came in and did a pro bono, and actually,
We also
the
hired,
architect that we had was pro bono too.
yeah, it was, and we also hired Mike Barnes to look for grants. And I think we had allocated $5 or $7 grand, and he came back at the 25, the halfway point, and said, if we're not going to find anything for this, I don't want any more of your money, I want to get out of it. It's not right there.
It's gonna take a lot of work on it and, looking for grants for it. But you have to have a plan to look for grants. You can't just go out and look for grants.
Right.
And to get a plan, you've got to have it upfront money.
So we have to go ask for that. Will, you were up here? Did you need to say something?
No, I don't say anything.
So we got the approval to move on by the city council. That's what we need to do to try to get this downtown.
I'll be waiting. Thank you for the.
It's pretty and nice. Like it should have been by now.
Well,
Is that it?
I think so.
Are your people still there?
They're there. I can't get them back on the screen, but I assume that they still see y'all.
Can you still see us, everybody?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yes.
So right now, we'll have to figure out who's going to be on the committee and who's going to chair it. We're not going to do that right now, but we need to think about that. I think we can move on to future agenda items. Does anybody have anything that they want to make sure goes on our next meeting? For example, selecting a chair of the streetscape committee.
Well, the chair of the, it's under the historic commission.
Right.
And because the chair is the one that communicates with the city the most, it's why we were always chairs.
Right, so if I'm the chair of those city council meetings, we present what we're doing.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's a lot of communication to do, and so it should be you, if you.
Okay. Well, I'm not nominating myself yet, but we'll talk about it. All right.
You want to start, to me, you want to start as soon as possible with getting your committee together and getting a plan for the committee, what it's supposed to do.
Okay.
I've watched this for 20 years, waited on this for 20 years, 18 years.
Anybody that has contacts that are involved with courthouse or square business owners that might be interested on being a committee, please put them in contact with Retta and myself.
A Blanco business owner. It's a Blanco business owner.
Right.
Liz Waller has worked on a lot of this. Carolyn with the town Blanco
Okay.
was on this committee before. I can't remember who all those people who are familiar with it, but on the business on the square.
Okay.
There's a lot to be on it.
Should we talk to the Chamber of Commerce to see if they have members who might be interested?
That is a good idea.
Well, how about the people directly affected by having parking spaces removed in front of their businesses? I mean, if I was
That's why I'm
Mike
saying.
Fetzer at Old 300, I'd be like, you're going to take away 3 of my spaces? No, I don't want to do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I
face.
think we ought to talk to the Chamber of Commerce. Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't just force this on people at all. It's their business.
I think it's, I like the idea. I like the designs basically, but there's a lot of, I'm not sure if it's feasible at this time for a number of reasons, but my question is the city council at this moment, would they warm up to this idea? I do not know the city council, so.
That's a great question.
Would the city council be warm to this idea or be open to this idea right now?
The city council.
The question is would the city council be receptive on board with this concept right now?
Well, they voted to go forward with it. It's down to the city council.
They voted to move forward with it, but they haven't allocated any funds.
This is part of what the city council voted on.
When?
But that was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
No.
Totally different government.
They voted on
So
the last. Please give us clarification.
city council is going to already reassemble the team or the
Resurrected plan.
resurrection plan, and that is it to move forward with getting together the information, which means she can go, if you can find an architect, get a committee together, get an architect, and then bring costs to the city. At that point, the city will decide, determine whether or not they want to participate financially in grants, because grants are not just free money, they do require some match. And is it in the budget to do so? But that's all it is right now.
One step at a time.
All right, so let's all recruit people that know what's going on.
Evan Olson.
No, nobody's talking right now. I think. Anything else that I've overlooked? that we need to discuss tonight? Anybody?
I can't hear you.
No.
Not I.
Topics tonight?
No.
What?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
The Jim Bunty, I motion to adjourn.
Jim Bunty motions to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
I can second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 6:46.
Well, if you can send me that transcript, that would be great.
I will do so, sir. Couldn't come to me till in the morning, but I'll send it.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Anytime. Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, good night.
Thank you.